Hello, captains. Welcome back to my channel. I am your host, USS Endeavor. It is good to be back. Took a little bit of a break there. I know it's been a little bit of time since I have posted anything, almost a week. Work, life has been crazy. Thank you so much for your patience, but we are back at it with the Tier 7 Lightning, the British destroyer that is continuing on the series. We're getting close to the end, if I'll ever get these videos out. But here we go, captains. We're going to take a look at how I have her built, which is kind of similar to what you've seen thus far. But for those who are just now seeing it for the first time, let's take a look at the commander that we're using. For right now, it's still Reginald Turwitt, and he is fully maxed at 16.4. And the big thing that I want to showcase is the Smogathon perk, which allows us to get our smokes back before they finish dispersing, which is always handy. For our mod selections, in the first, we have Aiming Systems Mod 1, Steering Gears in the second, and then the last, we are using Concealment Mod. In the fourth, actually, we have 4. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting this is Tier 7 now. We're using Main Battery Mod 3, which is going to help reduce our reload time by 10%. Onto the consumables, like I said, the smoke generator, in which we have 8 of them because of Smogathon, and if you see, the smoke dispersion time is greater than the reload time, meaning that you can, for 8 times, basically stay in your smoke the entire time, but I wouldn't advise that. Along with your smoke, you have your sonar, which has a very long duration of 180 seconds, 3 minutes, but only a 3.5 kilometer detection of ships. Onto the actual individual stats themselves for the ship. The survivability is just shy of 16,000, which is a couple more thousand greater than the Tier 6 Jervis. And onto the artillery, we have the exact same lineup, 6 guns and 3 turrets, 2 in the front, 1 in the back, that turn 360 degrees, which is fantastic. One thing that I failed to mention for the Jervis, it does the same thing. But we shave off 1 second off our reload time. So instead of 5, it's down to 4, which does make a big difference in your DPM. The torpedoes, largely the same. Still fantastic, except you're trading 10 of them for 8 of them. But you do get increased range at 10 kilometers this time as opposed to the 8. So we do lose out on 2 torpedoes, but as you'll see in the video, we do pretty well with them. The AA defense is still not all that great. Technically an improvement over the Jervis, but nothing to be proud of. Maneuverability, still great. 37.1 knots, 590 meter turning circle radius with a 3-second rudder shift time. Without speccing into it, and you really don't have to, this thing is very maneuverable. That also increases its speed when it's turning. Onto the concealment, we have it down to 5.1 kilometers, which is actually pretty stealthy for this tier, rivaled only by the Japanese boats, the Japanese destroyers actually, because they can get their concealment down, I think, just slightly less than that. Onto the individual statistics. I don't have a great win rate in it, but you know, it is what it is. We do really good in this game, though. Or in these games, rather. The armor is technically an improvement, 19 millimeters. So you can still bounce 203s if they're shooting AP, and you can resist HE damage from 102s. So here we go, captains, on the first game. We are on the map Shards, and we spawn on opposite of Charlie. Now, we're by ourselves, and if you notice on our team, we actually have an extra destroyer, and that's because the Akatsuki and the Icarus, and as much as I love the Icarus, and it's a ship that's really good for Tier 5, it doesn't belong in a Tier 7 lobby. So, just captains, I know most of you know this, but if you're new and you have no idea, if you're going to division up with somebody, which is totally fine, make sure you guys are playing the exact same tier, otherwise this could happen. They spawn, the Icarus and the Akatsuki spawn across from Bravo, and so they're going to be going in there to contest that. I'm the only destroyer on Charlie, so that is where I am going to be heading. I also wanted to say thank you for your patience. A newborn definitely makes it a little bit harder to get these videos out. But I was able to nab 2 gameplays, kind of keeping with the theme of the double feature I kind of like the name that I came up with, Lightning Strikes Twice. So here we go. Heading into Charlie, we do have our bearing indicator, which is going to be really, really helpful. And the cap is contested as soon as we get into it. So the destroyer on the opposing team had the exact same idea. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing is not really pushing the issue. I have a low concealment, but I am afraid that the ship that I'm going up against may outspot me. If they do, it's not going to be by much. But the one thing that I am concerned about is torpedoes coming in. Because once you're contesting the cap, the opposing player does know roughly that you are in there with him. Although I have a bearing locator, so I have an idea as to where the destroyer is, where I am not located, so he doesn't know, or she doesn't know where I am located. But the destroyer, unbeknownst to me, decides to come off the cap, so I am now capturing it. So for whatever reason, that destroyer did not feel like it was worth sticking around to contest it, which is fine by me. So I'm just going to keep on going until I see it contested again. However, because of the way that it is moving, I figured the destroyer was actually moving towards the right-hand side, trying to get a flanking position and using the islands as cover. And the other thing I got to be aware of is that Ochakov way out there, which, speaking of, he has 11.7 kilometer range on that radar. Now, it doesn't last very long, but it's only 20 seconds, but I am lit up. And that Iowa out there, I thought was going to be taking shots at me. And believe it or not, I get away with one where nobody shoots at me at all. Which, if I'm honest, you need to be shooting at destroyers. I was fully expecting that to come in there, and it wasn't. Remember our teammates that spawned mid, those destroyers? Well, yeah, they're both dead. So the Icarus and the Tier 5 and the Tier 6 that were in a division, they're gone. So we're automatically down in score. We have one cap, they have one. Bravo hasn't been touched yet. The enemy Jervis, I'm guessing, helped to eliminate those two destroyers. So hopefully that was a lesson to them not to do that, but this game is 4 years old and it's still happening today, so I'm not going to hold my breath. At this point, because both of those destroyers went down and we have already taken the cap, and the other destroyer is just not wanting to push the issue, and we're down, I wanted to go ahead and throw a set of torps back there just as a, just in case. The Ochakov already burned one of his radars. I don't know how he has at least two. If he's an agile one and using the right commander, he could have three. So, but he already used it, and so I'm not expecting one to come anytime relatively soon. But at this point, I realized that Charlie Cap is now being flipped. So the destroyer timed it, I guess, just right to be able to go back into the cap, whereas I was going to make a play for Bravo. But because I've noticed that Charlie is now being flipped, I'm going to come back. But as you see on the mini-map, both of those battleships that kind of spawned with me are still kind of backing me up. They're keeping the Iowa at bay. That is way out there. So I'm going to come on in here and start to make a play to get Charlie defended, basically. I don't want them to take it. So now that I'm in, it's contested, which lets the destroyer know, if he's paying attention, that I'm back in here. And now I'm fully expecting, as soon as I go around this corner, that I'm going to immediately spot them. It jogs a little to the right, which is exactly what happens. It's the Kagero. I start shooting, and he is in the right configuration to be able to shoot torpedoes at me. He immediately smokes up. Because I'm in range of the Iowa, I am now lit. So I pop my smoke so that I kind of drop spot so that the destroyer doesn't have free shots at me. And I'm fully expecting torpedoes to be coming my way as we get a fire on that Iowa way out there with that pretty cool random salvo. Again, I still remember that the Ochakov has a radar at his disposal. So I'm just kind of sitting here. I'm being patient. Again, I was kind of waiting for the torpedoes to kind of show up because I was fully expecting that to happen. And I noticed that now he's gotten off the cap. So I scared off the destroyer again, And there's that second radar from the Ochakov. So at this point, I'm tucked in behind the island. The Ochakov can't shoot me. The destroyer can't shoot me. The Iowa can't shoot me. So I'm relatively safe, even though I am technically spotted. And thankfully, one of our teammates went in and capped Bravo, so now we have cap control, although we're down in ships. But in doing so, we did lose the one that we had earlier, which was Alpha. So a couple of cap flipping going on. But right now, we have the cap control. We just need to get a couple of these ships off the board so that we can get the score back to even and hopefully take it over. This Iowa is pushing in. Thankfully, our battleship, our friendly battleship, which I believe is a Bismarck, is also pushing in. So now I'm going to smoke up because he is going to be within my detection range here in just a little bit. So I just want to sit here in relative safety and start shooting and peppering away at this Iowa, as we're going to get at least one torp hit, which unfortunately doesn't cause a flood. But then this last one that hits does, along with a fire that I have. So this is going to spell the doom to the Iowa, and I'm just hoping I can take him out before he takes out or rams our Bismarck, which we're successful in doing. However, those torpedoes came in and almost wiped the Bismarck off the board, and this Ochakov is spamming him, so the Bismarck's not going to be long for this world. And while all that's happening, now we're losing Bravo. So even though we have brought the ships back and technically we are ahead, if we lose Bravo, we'll lose cap control, and then we'll start the points are going to start going in the opposite direction. There we were able to take another ship off the Reds, but this Bismarck unfortunately is going to be going down as he signals his last horn of good luck and hope everybody does well. So now that he's gone, I still have this destroyer that's out here along with the Ochakov, and I've got to be aware of the fact that he could still have a third radar. I don't know that to be certain, but it could absolutely be the case if he is playing with that certain commander that gives him that. I just got to be aware of that, which is the fully packed skill. But right now, the only thing that we have to really concern ourselves with is this Ochakov, the radar, and this other destroyer that's out here. We've been holding Charlie for as long as we can, but now we've got to be thinking about getting into Bravo and reflipping that. Most of our team is on this side of the map, though. Not ideal. Obviously, we spawned over here. I kind of started getting fed up, and I wanted the Ochakov to kind of take shots at me so that he would turn towards where my torpedoes were, but that didn't happen. There we drop spot, get spotted again, but then we drop it again. So the bearing locator flips to the left, so that's where I know the destroyer is. I'm trying to keep myself in the smoke from getting me lit again. So trying to take free shots at this Ochakov, and this is kind of where things get a little hairy. As you see, the bearing locator flipped to the right. I wasn't paying attention to that immediately in the moment, and there I get spotted, and I'm like, well, how in the world am I getting spotted? I got the smoke between the Ochakov and the destroyer out there, and I'm not realizing that there's a destroyer that is pushing into the cap that got Bravo, and there are those shots that came in, and now I'm fully aware of it. But unfortunately, the destroyer that is over there is the Z-23. And the Z-23 has a smoke hydro combination that is better than mine. So now that I am back in my smoke, now I'm getting hydroed. And thankfully, this battleship takes out the Ochakov, which was a huge threat to me. But he is pretty much on life support, as I fully expected to get nailed by that torpedo, but thankfully it runs out. However, like I said, his smoke hydro combo is better than mine. I don't even have my hydro back. So I'm in a really, really bad sticky situation. I'm desperately trying to drop my spot, but I'm also trying to get out of range of his hydro. I am successful briefly, but I take a shot at the Kagero. I'm just trying to survive, but I also got to try and take these guys down. I can technically out-DPM this Kagero, but I'm dangerously low on my health, as everybody's trying to smoke up to disengage. I am trying to disengage, but I'm just kind of caught between two destroyers that have better positioning on me. I recognize that as I'm trying to get away. I actually get back into his hydro range briefly, But now I'm on the move. I just get out of it again, and I just got to disengage. However, I don't have much maneuvering to do here, so I'm desperately trying to get torpedoes on the Z-23 to try and take him out, whilst also I just barely stayed alive. I'm surprised I'm still alive from that engagement. I get my hydro back just in time, so I pop that in case any more torpedoes come in, which they do. And the one thing about the Germans is that their hydro doesn't last nearly as long as mine does. The Kagero is now pushing into me, which is a smart play on his part. He's getting me spotted. I'm really, really low. He does have hard-hitting HE shells. I am able to dodge those salvos that came in from the right, and we successfully take out that destroyer as the Z-23 now pops up, getting lit by our cruiser that is over there. So thankfully he is out spotting, and I'm going to try and take advantage of those shots while I can. But it's not looking good. We are flipping A, so that's good, but we're still down in score, almost by 80 points. So we have to sink some ships, and time is starting to get away from us as we now hit the 3-minute mark. So it's been really furious here at the end. Still trying to stay alive. Our Charles Martel, though, is pretty much on life support, which is not good. And he's got a Z-23 and a Zara that's right in front of him, along with a couple of other ships that I have no idea where they're at. So we don't have the health points to really trade. I know that the Zara's kind of over there somewhere, so I'm just kind of throwing shells out there as a prayer, really. Throwing torpedoes in this gap in case they decide to push it and I can get lucky. But at this point, it's kind of a prayer at this point. I don't think I'm going to be very successful. Zara pops up, and again, I wouldn't advise this, but it's late in the game. We're down. We're trying to make up the difference here, and if we can get this Zara off the board and me stay alive, which I get is kind of hard. The guns weren't facing at me, so I felt confident I could be able to do that. I'm just trying to make the Zara really uncomfortable. But unfortunately, our Charles Martel finally dies, and now we need to take out 2 ships as opposed to just the Zara now. So if I don't stay out here and spot, he's going to go unspotted, so I have to gun him from range, and I have to take him out. He is low. I do have pretty good HE, as we just lose a turret there and take very minimal damage. The Zara has a much longer reload, and thankfully the Zara is not equipped with SAP in this situation. Otherwise, those shots could have done a lot more damage against me and probably could have taken me out, which was another reason why I felt a little bit more confident with this engagement. The Zara is now really, really burning down, but he damaged Cons right there to save him from basically burning out as we lose our Friesland. So at this point, we're less than a minute, and there's almost nothing I can do at this point. We just don't have enough time. The score has gotten away from us. They're retaking Alpha. Even with that kill, we're still down by over 100 points. And at this point, I don't even know where the other 2 ships are. The Z-23 that did try to take us out earlier backpedaled and just kind of got out of there, as far as I know. So at this point now, I'm just kind of throwing shells out there as oh man, this sucks. We did all that fighting. We took out 3 ships. We got a lot of ribbons, not as much damage, but for a destroyer, we were taking on a lot of destroyers, and I think if our team had done a little bit better at the beginning, especially with that failed division that could have done a lot more at Bravo than they did, maybe this could have been a win, but alas, it's not meant to be. So take a loss in the first one, unfortunately, but I felt we did really, really well as we take we did over 1,900 base XP in a loss, which is actually very respectable. So I felt really, really good about that game, even though we didn't come away with the win. So let's try again. All right, captains, here we go. This is the second game, and we're on Northern Waters. We are by ourselves, and there is no failed division in this one. It's a true Tier 7, Tier 6 lobby. We are spawning right across from Bravo. Only 2 destroyers per side. So we've got to make the most of this situation, and can't go out with a loss. This is going to be a win. So spoiler alert. But a couple of things I wanted to point out. We play really, really well in this game up until the very end, and I'll point it out to you, and I'll let you know. But we still do really, really well. And we make some really good plays early on and mid-game and even part of the late game, except for the very, very, very end, we goof. And we get, well, I won't spoil what happens at the very, very end, but you'll see it. And I'll let you know when the goofiness on my part kind of takes over. So going on in here, we are located as we are also locating another with our bearing locator, so they are definitely coming in to Bravo as we are as well. So whatever destroyer we are going to go up against is going to be able to spot us and knows our relative location. So I'm not sure exactly who it's going to be, but we're ready for him. So we're kind of getting angled because if torps are coming in from this corner, which typically do, I want to make sure that I can outmaneuver them. So kind of staying over here. And I noticed that the bearing locator flips to the left, which if there was any destroyer in here or trying to come for Bravo Cap, I definitely would have been able to have seen him by now. So I think that they're going towards Alpha instead. So I feel relatively confident that we're going to be taking Bravo here without any real contest, and I'm just going to maintain my position, which is why I threw torps on Alpha, because if he is or she going towards Alpha, I want to try and potentially get a sneaky torp hit. But over here, I noticed that our Fletcher, who is contesting Charlie, is kind of hiding behind that island and not really excited about what he's going up against over here. So I kind of make a little bit of a weird play here. I'm just kind of eyeballing those torps, and I was like, am I going to get one? Am I going to get a hit? Yeah, I know that he went over there. As you can see, Alpha's being flipped. So I'm going to make a change of pace. Normally, I would go for that destroyer. I don't want to overload destroyers on one side of the map too often. But I felt like the enemy destroyer is expecting the Fletcher to be where he is and not expect another destroyer to come up from the side, which is exactly what I'm doing. And there the Kagero is not ready. I was going to shoot right there, but he smokes up. So I pop my Hydro, and now I'm just going to try and run him down. And at best, I catch him with his pants down, and I'm going to be able to gun him down. Or I'm going to run him out of the cap. And either way, I want to be able to get this cap, and I want to be able to help the Fletcher do so. So a little bit of a sneaky play on my part. Again, not one that I normally do. As the Kagero finally goes around the corner, he does get out of the cap, and we get a hit. But we do, unfortunately, expose ourselves whenever that happens and slow down a little bit to try and dodge some stuff, which we are successful a little bit. And now we're going to get into the smoke screen and utilize the one that the Kagero dropped for us. So thank you, sir. Finally get into here, and we drop spot. So now we're going to take over this cap. The Kagero wisely got out of dodge. And now it's kind of a game of cat and mouse. Not exactly sure where he went, but I know he's out here somewhere. The Nagato is pushing in here. And now that we finally have the cap, we get a thank you from the Fletcher. And so I'm like, yep, no problem, buddy. Let's try and take this guy out along with the Nagato that's coming in here. There the Kagero gets spotted back up, and I'm guessing I can outspot him because there's no reason why I should be able to see him at 5.6, 5.7 kilometers. That is not a very well concealed Kagero, if that's the case. Gonna throw torpedoes on that Nagato as he is still pushing in, hoping he stays in a straight line. Our Hydro is about to, it's getting close to the 1 minute mark, so 2/3 of our time have already gone down. Haven't really been able to capitalize too much on it, and I want to try and spot this guy real quick before it runs out. So as we're coming over here, the Nagato still hasn't really changed direction. So these torpedoes look awfully juicy as we're slowly going around this corner. I just kind of want to peek out a little bit. He may be hiding right here behind this corner, which he is. So we're going to take a shot at him. And as we do, we're starting to get some torp hits. And fortunately, we take out the Nagato for our devastating strike and our first blood. And just as we get that, the enemy team also gets one of ours. So we literally trade two ships at almost the exact same time. Mine just happened slightly quicker. As now we're down to 15 seconds. The Kagero is back there. And the Fletcher is asking me to get back. Not quite sure why, but now that I look at my Hydro and I notice that it's pretty much gone at this point, it's actually not the best idea to push into him because I can't spot him other than the fact that he just has bad concealment. So looking back on this, I kind of wish I would have pushed him, but that Iowa is kind of holding. He's got this Kagero backed up a little bit. So if I were to get spotted, the Iowa could take shots at me and kind of ruin my day. And I'm just not well equipped to take on both of them at the same time. And that's when I noticed that Bravo did get flipped. So we're going to head back that direction as Charlie is now taken. And although the Kagero is still out there somewhere, he knows that both of us are out here. So I'm hoping that the mind games are starting to be played. And the fact that he's not really able to spot either of us or outspot us, he's going to be kind of frozen where he's at, and he can't take both of us on, especially with both of us being gunboats and him being a torpedo boat. I'm kind of hoping that the mind games are going to be played so that he kind of gets frozen in his position and doesn't try to push the cap. I noticed that both me and the Fletcher are coming around, and that's when the Udaloy gets spotted, and our Fletcher starts opening up on him, and we're going to start opening up too, and we're going to double team this guy. The Udaloy actually has some pretty decent armor, has slow firing guns, but has a heck of a lot of torpedoes. He's got 15 actually. He can't fire them all from one side, but if he does have them, that's not good. And so I'm starting to slow down, and then I start speeding up because I want to try to get these guns on here. There we take both of his front turrets out with our HE. Here's a little bit of a misplay on my part. If he had torpedoes, now would be the time for him to launch at me, and I would probably be dead. There's no way I would have been able to have dodged those. I got way too close. But fortunately, he didn't have them, and or he just didn't use them. In either case, we dodged that bullet as well. So making a couple of mistakes in this game, now that I'm looking back on it. I shouldn't have rushed the Udaloy like I did, and I should have, in my opinion, gone after the destroyer earlier. But now we're back to Bravo, and we do need to take this cap, so that is very important. But if the Kagero is paying attention, he knows that Charlie is pretty much open at this point. He could go in there and trying to survey what's basically happening, what's going on, what is the winning condition. Part of that is getting Bravo cap, maintaining the cap control. We are contesting Alpha, so they're not getting any points at all right now. And we are generating points, which is really what I want. I need us to generate more points so that in the event that our team starts to get whittled down, we have that buffer of our points. So, but if you notice, it's awfully late in the game, or it's starting to get late into the game, and there's still plenty of ships on both sides. Yeah, we have more, but the Reds, for the most part, have actually done a pretty good job of staying alive. And so this has been a pretty competitive match, and I've enjoyed it, which is another reason why I kind of picked this game. The Mines, though, is now pushing around, and I think he's wanting to come over to Charlie. So we're actually going to head back, because I know that the other destroyer is somewhere over here. I believe that the bearing locator is closest against this Mines, as he is dangerously close. He's actually really close to Hydro range. So that's something that I need to be aware of. He has a really strong Hydro acoustic search. And if he has it active, these torpedoes that I'm about to fling his way are not going to be nearly as effective. He did slow down right there, so I'm kind of concerned that I'm not quite sure where to put the torpedoes on him. But now he speeds up, so I'm thinking he's going to make that play towards that edge as we just miss out on losing a torpedo on the edge of that rock. So those torpedoes are going in, and if he doesn't have his hydro active, he's not going to see these things coming, which is my hope, as we put single fires over here on the Iowa. So we got the Iowa on the far side of Charlie, and we've got this mines that's out here. But as you saw, the mines kind of turned out, so I'm thinking that those torpedoes aren't going to be very good. Still trying to be cognizant of the fact that the destroyer is out here somewhere, but he hasn't made a play for Charlie, which is kind of odd to me, seeing as we were lit earlier. And that's when I noticed that 3 of those 4 torpedoes that we threw at the mines landed, giving us over 31,000 damage, and we almost took the mines out. He does damage Khan, and he's now getting a heal off. So I was going to take shots at him, but I don't want to get spotted because I don't want the Iowa to know where I am. Even though torpedoes did get launched his way. And it's starting to get really, really late in the game. As you can see, the score, we're pretty much twice as many points as the Reds do. So at this point of the game, they have to sink all of us if they're gonna win. There's just not enough time left to be able to flip caps at this point. If you're on the red team, you've got to take us out, and unfortunately, they're not gonna be able to do that. But this is that part where I said I was gonna make a mistake, and I do. So that mines is out there. Very aware that he's out there. I hit him with torpedoes. So I can't make the excuse that I didn't know that he was there. I knew he was. But I'm trying to set up an ambush for this Iowa. I know he's coming around the corner as he takes shots right there, and unfortunately he gets within my spotting range, so I'm forced to smoke up right there. And that lets the mines know where I specifically am. He knew kind of that I was out here somewhere, but he didn't know exactly where. Kind of furiously throw torpedoes on the indicator and then away from him. But this is my mistake. I'm just kind of sitting in my smoke, and I'm foolishly just shooting this Iowa. And that's when I get hydroed. And who else could it be? Well, duh, it's the mines. And he just decided to push, because why not? And I am getting absolutely wrecked. As well as I should. I shouldn't have stayed where I was. I made a really poor decision at this point. I realized my mistake, but it's too late. His hydro does go out, but he's able to basically almost take me out. And the only saving grace that I have as these torpedoes come in is that one of our teammates takes out another boat, and it ends the match on the mercy roll. Or we hit 1,000 points. So I survived simply because we hit 1,000 points before my dumbheadedness died. So technically I survived that. I do well on the XP. 3,300 base XP is great, but didn't play the end of that very well. So take a lesson from me. Don't get caught in your smoke. Don't get lulled into submission, because that can happen. So get away with one right there, captains. But that's a look at the Lightning. It's a really good ship. Has a little bit better characteristics than the Jervis. Not by much, but a little bit. A little bit healthier in the health department, HP-wise, and a little bit faster in the reload for the guns. So that's a look at the Lightning again. Thank you again, captains, for being patient with me as I get this video out to you. Can't wait to show you the next ship in the line. So until then, I will catch all of you later. This is the USS Endeavor signing off.